Hello, fellow engineers. Welcome to another episode of this series on Triton. We'll show you in this episode how I have refined a little bit the loading platform as well as covering the corridor that leads to the rover exit of this base. Plus, I have covered part of the production blocks on the sides of the base, although I'm not fully satisfied with it. So let's jump off this rover and start this episode. So you might remember last time we left this giant hole or corridor, but there's no roof. So I started designing how it might look like. And here I'm welding it. So let's see how it looks when it's finished. So here we are. I've used some glass as well as 2x1 slopes. So we have to weld the rest exactly the same, as I don't want to spend too much time doing that. So as always, I'm going to use the welding arm to complete the job. So let's see it in action with some nice shots. Of course, to me it took a few hours to do that, but I don't want you to see me welding for hours, so let's speed the process up a little bit. Still, let's see the welding arm in action. Yeah, I love it. So thanks to the crane, I just let it go and it finished the process by itself. Here we have finally finished, and that's how it looks. Let's do also a flyby. It doesn't look terrible, but still I think I will make an iteration over it later on to see if I can improve it. Maybe it's just colors and materials, maybe not. And let's see how it looks also from below. So let's activate the loading platform. That, as I mentioned before, it merges with the floor, so it's airtight when it's elevated to the floor level. There we go, let's do the flyby. Since I'm using Windows, I can just use the spotlight I have on the roof, and I don't need any additional light. Let's go back. And let's move on to something else. Okay, so here you can see I have grinded down that wall, and I'm going to explain you why. You see, I have centered the ship in the middle of the hangar, and the loading platform is below the ship, so we have to move it a little bit backwards. I think almost to the end of the base itself. So let's remove these last bits of armor blocks, and then let's call in the mining drone to help out with the mining operations. So while piloting the mining drone where we need it to, I'm gonna tell you a couple of details about this mining drone. I use a couple of scripts. One is the gravity alignment, because when you are underground, sometimes you lose orientation. You don't know where it's up and where it's not. So to avoid the drone to fall on its own weight, I'm using that script. The other one I'm using is the Spugs autodock. It doesn't work well with the gravity alignment, so every time I have to dock, I always have to remember to disable gravity alignment. So quite satisfied with the design of that little drone. That's why I have blueprinted it and built a second model. Now here, the loading platform is finished. As you can see, I have added some colors. It's bigger than before. And there's also another little detail that I've added. Let's go down. Oh yeah, first I want to show you that now with the projection of the ship, most of the loading platform is not below. So we can now turn off the projection and we can just see how the loading platform work with this little addition I made. So here I'm going down, and as we reach the bottom, there you can see the sensor. Its range is visible, and as you can see, it's activated. It's set up to detect subgrids, and the shape makes it detecting the loading platform almost till the very end. So let's see how it actually works. It's activated, and as you can see, it's still detecting the subgrid, in other words, the loading platform. There, sorry, it wasn't moving. You see, it's green till the very end when it finally merged. This avoids a little jump that the loading platform was making right before merging, because the attractive force of the merge blocks being sideways as they are now and not oriented to the top makes them merge a little before the loading platform has actually reached the very end, and it was causing the platform to make a little jump. So with the sensor, I just activate the merge block right when the platform is already at level. Works pretty well, and I'm quite satisfied with the results. Now, moving forward, here we are trying to add some details and protection around the production blocks I have on the sides of the hangar bay of this base. I tried a few different designs. This is the first attempt that I really didn't like, this rounded thing. I don't know, didn't look right. I tried a couple of variations on it, and you'll see in a minute the final result. But I didn't like them. I will probably look for other builds that maybe you guys have done and that can inspire from, because I don't like how it looks. But I have to move forward, so just did what I could. See, this is a version, and in a second I will show you the second version I made. There, this is the second version. I think it's a little better, and the sci-fi texture quite helps adding some detailing and make it more interesting. I've left this window because this way I can see the fuel level of this tank, but I might get rid of it. I don't like it too much. And I have extended this design all around this side with its variations, of course. These are the large containers with oxygen tanks. Here we have the refinery with also an H2O2 generator that it's hidden behind. Again, the cargo containers with some ladders to reach the port. The elevator part. Again, other containers. As you know, I have a lot. Other refinery with these interior blocks, and we reach the very end of the base. So I will have to do the same job, of course, on this side. I'll try to finish during the next week. Shouldn't take too much, especially if I just use the design I've already made on the other side and not spending time trying to find a better design. I think it's okay for now. So one last comment about this part is that I've also added some lights, a few lights, not too many, but still illuminated enough where needed. Okay, so since we have still plenty of time, let's build something together. Now you know the loading platform, and that it uses manual controls. Why not automating the process a little bit, adding some sensors? Let's start with one sensor. So I will place a sensor in the lower part of the loading platform. This will be used to cool down the elevator and also to extend it again. I'm sorry, the loading platform, to cool it down and then to extend as soon as rover or the player is on top of the loading platform. Here we have to set up the extents of the sensor. I have activated the visualization of its range to be able to configure the range appropriately. Here we are. Let's see if the extent is enough. Yeah, I think it's okay. Now we have to extend a little bit up and on the left side of the sensor, and also to detect only players, small ships, and only friendly grids, as we don't want anyone to get in, right? Okay, so let's test it. It's detecting me properly, but as you can see, we have to extend the sensor onto the platform, at least a bit of the platform, like the very first end. We will also need to set up the appropriate actions for the sensor. In this case, I'm using the default one, but see, when I enter, it extends. It should always retract and lower the platform down. So we will need other timer blocks. Let's call it down again using the sensor. And let's fly to the server room in order to set up correctly the actions. So as I extensively use timers, I'll tell you a little trick. I'm using hinges with a small head in order to attach small timer blocks. They work exactly the same way as the big ones, but they require less resources and especially occupy much less space. So as you can see, instead of one, I just place 9, and I can even stack on top of them and have much more. But as I want to see them, I just strap on 9 on each block. I will rename a couple of them in order to have the actions to extend and also to retract separately. Okay, so we are back to where the sensor was, and we are going to set up the actions for each timer block. This one is to retract, so we will select the loading platform pistons and we will tell just to retract. The merge block have to turn off always, and here we go. Now let's set up the actions for the sensor. We will use the one that retracts the piston when you enter the area, and we will use the other to extend when you leave the area. So we remove the older actions, we select the correct timer blocks. Trigger now. Let's see if it works. Entering, it's retracting. Entering again, it still retracts. It's working fine. So last thing I need to do in order to have this working is to extend the range of the sensor on top of the front part of the loading platform. This way the rover or the engineer will extend or activate the extend action when it exits the sensor range, being already on top of the loading platform. This should be enough to have at least one of the directions to be fully automated. So it's time to set up the action for when you leave the sensor area. It should trigger the extend action for the loading platform. In this case, I won't need to activate the merge block since we have a sensor doing this job. Let's see if it works. Alright, so leaving the area, it extend, perfect. Moving. Getting on to the top, the sensor should do its job, and merged. Then you move in, it retracts the pistons, move out, extend, move in, retracts, perfect. It's doing its job now. It's time to try it on the other side. As you can see, I've mounted on the loading platform and it's extended as I wanted it to do. Okay, now it's time to try it with the rover. I have already moved it down to the corridor. I entered the sensor range, and as you can see, the pistons are retracting as expected. Then we move on top of the loading platform. It shouldn't activate until I exit it with the last wheel, so the whole rover should be onto the loading platform. Perfect. Working as expected. Woohoo! So that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Bye bye.